Guys, please, if you can, join the locals, the Patreon, the Cash App, the Buy Me a Coffee, PayPal. Those are right now, they were supplementing the podcast. Right now, those are approaching like $1,500 a month. If those can get to, I don't know, $3,000 a month by the end of the year, the show will pretty much be invincible. The show makes money from Rumble, makes money from YouTube, and makes money from Spotify. But those can and have in the past cut off all payment with no warning. I have no contracts with any of them. I've tried. Every month, I don't know if I'm getting paid by them. As the show makes more and more from Patreon and people just dropping $5 here and there, it's becoming decentralized in terms of revenue. And because of that, it's becoming near invincible to where it no longer is, okay, we just got to stay on YouTube. We just got to stay on Rumble. We got to keep growing. It's hitting a point where the show can now continue regardless of the presidential administration, regardless of the winds of cancel culture and whatnot. Honestly, this is what I've always wanted. It just has never really seemed to be working. For whatever reason, in 2026, it's working. Please, if you can, it is not meaningless if you can join for $1 a month. If you can join for $20 a month, like, dude, you are actually moving the needle to keep this show not only free, but unhinged, uncensored, and frankly, a cobbled together, unproduced mess. But that's why I love it. And I think that's why you guys love it. So please, if you can, join any of those. Those links are in the description. They're in the pinned comment. Thank you. And we are recording on Thursday, February 12th, 2026 at 10:12 a.m. Eastern Time with Mr. Halsey English and Mr. Donny Bruno. You guys can go in the description. You can find Halsey's Twitter and his podcast. I don't believe Donny has a podcast or a Twitter, so we have that. But as I was just telling you, yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm just knocking on all cylinders, just like really, maybe more so than at any other point in my life, just doing everything, just walking the middle road, just doing well, except showing up on time to my show. I can't, I can't do it. I can't, and I guess as far as all things go, maybe it's not a bad vice, but yeah, I don't know. It's fucked. So I don't know. Halsey, your thoughts on my one vice?
I mean, I go through it too, so I know exactly what you're talking about. But when all's said and done, like, come on, this is what we do. This is how we do. So we can't sit here and complain about what we do. Like we chose this life for a reason,
Yeah.
So okay, we firing on all cylinders, but like, I mean, I'm still shocked. Like Dominic, you don't have a Twitter.
I don't. I
You are
avoided
so lucky.
social media on every level my whole life.
You
You're
know
And then
why?
and then
Because
Tommy invited me on this show.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm telling
Well,
you, man, Twitter is literally the gain of function avenue for retards. Like I'm just like praying it never lab leaks.
oh no, it
If you
really
can think of
is.
the dumbest shit, like the dumbest shit that you could ever hear in your life, and think like, oh, people can't really believe shit that dumb. Just literally go to Twitter and you'll find it. I guarantee it.
But that's that's no, what a brilliant Clay had a great quote. He said America is the gain of function for independence. You had a bunch of people leave Europe, come here, and you know, fucking slaughter the Indians, tame the land, blah blah blah. There's the gain of function for like independence, and he's like, and we're approaching that point again, and that is true. But that's a beautiful observation. Twitter is the gain of function for retards. It
It
really
is. I'm
is,
telling you.
because it's not something like YouTube where if you don't have 10,000 subscribers or 100,000 people, they're never going to find your video. You can be tweeting into the void for years and
Yep.
still something catches traction, some wind hits the sail, and you say something retarded and it can get 30 million impressions. And
Oh yeah.
it is like, is it the opposite of Darwinian selection? It's like it's not earned.
I think it's a place where like it used to be that like really just kind of morons had to make their way and get a job bagging groceries and hopefully go through life like doing their thing, but now they get to be important because they're surrounded by their own, so they can go on Twitter and just tweet into the void and say the absolute dumbest shit possible and find a willing and happy audience to consume it. So, and I mean, add that to all the shit going on in the world where it actually takes like real energy to look into it, to find out what's going on, to understand the systems that are operating, like to look into things, to examine media sources and debunk or check studies. Like that all takes like brain power and work. Going on Twitter, all you have to do is just make up whatever you want, and say, oh, well, the French Legion killed Charlie Kirk. And then all of a sudden you notice it's got like a million views and people are like, oh, this one knows what they're talking about. And it's like, wow, and if you talk about people on Twitter to people, I'll tell you a great story.
Yeah.
I had a friend, he went to a protest, right? Do you guys know who Count Dankula is?
No.
He's that guy in Britain. He's from Scotland, and he's a comedian, but he's really like a raw comedian. Like he's kind of gross. But he had made a video where he said that his girlfriend had pissed him off. So she had this dog that he was like in love that she was in love with. So he taught it that whenever you say something like "Sieg Heil," it would throw out a Hitler salute, right? And he made a video of this, and it was just something he put online. Like I actually know the guy personally. I know he's not a hater. He's not whatever. He literally did it just to piss his girlfriend off, and it was in Britain. So they of course arrested him, right? And put him on trial, and like he had to, he almost went to prison and all this. But so my buddy here in America, he went to this protest, right, at the ADL, and Jewish guy, Orthodox guy, like long side locks, everything. But he had a shirt on of in support of this Count Dankula with the dog on it and everything. And this reporter came up to him and was like, "Why are you wearing a Nazi shirt at a protest?" And he's like, "I'm not." And she's like, "Okay, whatever." And she just walked away. But the next day, of course, he's on the front page of the paper and of the media. Nazis at this salute, what at this protest. And he calls me up and he's like, "Okay, so obviously I need to call the paper and say something, like the media, and say something because they're getting this all wrong." And I said, "Dude, you have to understand something. There's nothing you can say that's not going to make you look more retarded than you do right now.
Mhm.
Because how are you going to explain this? Like, I'm not really a Nazi, but there's this guy on social media who was pissed at his girlfriend, so he taught her dog to do a Nazi salute. And it's actually really funny. And you felt the need to buy a t-shirt and promote like this weird thing. Yeah, it's actually just a big joke. It's like, no, you're just a moron." And it's like there's no. I said just let it go blow over.
Yeah.
Like people don't have long attention spans anyway. But the minute you say something, you're going to look 10 times worse than you did just from being on in the media on this. And that's social media. That's Twitter. Like it literally should just be called making shit worse. You know?
There, yeah, there's no explanation that it's like dog ate my homework, but like your dog actually did eat your homework. But it doesn't
Yep.
matter. Like you might as well just say I didn't do the assignment, even though you know you are actually innocent. It's
Yep.
almost like a path of least resistance to be like, oh yeah, no, I'm just a Nazi. Like that almost is more palatable because that at
And to
least
say you're a
that at least
complete
indicates
moron.
at least like a level of free will, as opposed to
Right.
just even if the truth really is that you thought it was funny because a dog did it. No one's going to believe that, and even if they did, is that do you want them to believe that? Like
Well, they're going to look at you like you're an adult,
that's
right?
what I
Like,
mean.
yeah,
They're
like
either going to think you're lying, and if the truth really is that like your dog ate your homework, how fucking stupid of you like why is your homework gonna why did your dog eat like there's no good
why
explanation.
did your dog eat your homework and why was it palatable to him in the first place?
Exactly.
Like,
What series of
you
events
know,
have led to your dog wanting that? Why was it available? How much time did you put into it? Where do you normally live? There is no good explanation. It's almost better to just say, yeah,
nope.
hail Hitler. I mean, I don't know. Like,
Yeah, exactly. But that's literally social media. That's the and we got into this long discussion yesterday. We opened up a Twitter space, me and my usual co-host, right? And he's really into like political philosophy and stuff like that. Like really smart guy, and so am I. So we can geek out for hours. And we just decided to address the topic, what is wrong with Gen Z? Like, because it's just easy to say they're all lazy or they're all stupid. We know that's not true. Because you know why? There's too many fucked up people in Gen Z. You can't just say, "Oh, well, look, it's this." Like they have like a collective problem, and it might not even be a problem. It's just they're not getting along with previous generations, right? And it's like we just started getting into like, okay, but Is it the fact that all these women are on birth control and they're basically pissing estrogen into our water supply? Is it that they've never seen war, so they have no idea what sacrifice and suffering really is? Like, I'm sorry, the Iraq War, the Afghanistan War, like those aren't real wars. Those were us just bombing the fuck out of people and then just like chilling out until they listen to us. Like, so it's not like World War II where they're like 200,000 dead this year or 300,000, like where you knew somebody who probably went there and died. Is it the all the antidepressants and ADD meds? Is it all the DEI? Like, we just kept getting into it, and we're like, how are they not 10 times more fucked up? As we started like getting into it, we're like, wow, like now that we're listing all the things I had to deal with, like, was I going to throw up if I drank too much Mad Dog 2020 when I snuck out of my house to go get wasted with my friends? Like, these kids are like facing some real shit, Like,
I would say, and I
sorry,
know
I'm hogging the space.
no, no, no. I would,
Space. Go for
and I would say, and not to attack you. I would say, I wouldn't say it's a total fake. Just in general, no. Was it a good war? No, like Vietnam. But I think I do have to just because a lot of my friends did serve. I don't want to take away from them and say like that wasn't a
Me
lot.
either.
Yeah,
Me either.
I know that, and I know. Normally I don't give a shit about like clarifying. You can say the Earth's flat, and I like won't. I don't care. I won't push. Because I don't. People are like, why don't you push back? I'm like, because I don't give a shit. That's the only real.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends that served. And I'd say they'd say it's real, but I get what you're saying is my issue and then we'll let Donnie in here because we're keeping him hostage. But like,
Yeah, no,
yeah,
we trapped him.
yeah, I know.
Like, sorry,
We've
bro.
cornered you. This is like a reverse intervention. We're just verbally raping him. But yeah, I don't. I always have to like catch myself because I'm with you, and I'm like they're fucked up, they're weird, and then I'm like I always have to pause and be like, what critiques do I have of them that have not been said about the youngest generation every decade for the last eon,
Hmm.
for the last 10 ice ages? If they don't respect their elders, they're not getting like, like I'm surprised at the number of friends I have who were just, myself included, just retarded degenerates who are now like wonderful fathers, boring,
Hmm.
vanilla. I'm sure their kids look at them as like, oh, he's just an old man. And I'm like, dude, I knew your dad when he was 12 and he threw up, passed out, standing up, hit his face on a brick wall and chipped his tooth. That was before high school. Like, so yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I don't know how many real critiques I have that don't fall into the category of these damn, I mean, these young kids in their rock and roll. I don't know, these young kids in their whatever, they're 1920, they're doing the flapper. Like these young kids in their Model Ts, these young kids in their, they'll never respect the Confederacy. These young kids, they don't wear powdered wigs anymore.
Yeah.
These young, so I don't even know how many, and there are real critiques. I just don't know how many I have, but we'll let
Right.
Donnie in here.
There's a funny thing I read once talking about Julius Caesar and his generation and how they were criticized for wearing their togas differently than the generation
So
that
it's
had
like
come before them.
it's
Like
like
I
this
how
talk
goes
about
way
that
back,
sometimes.
right?
I talk
Yeah,
about that sometimes.
wait,
Yeah.
fuck, we gotta let
yeah.
Donnie speak. So we just immediately started raping him again.
Yeah.
The Gen Z thing is interesting, Halsey. I'd like to add one thing to your long list. I think on all of those things play a factor. One of them is that they were, that from the Strauss-Howe model, they were supposed to be the hero generation, right? They were
Hmm.
supposed to have this great struggle. Maybe the 2008 financial crisis was supposed to be way bigger than then we papered it over with $30 trillion. And then they were supposed to have a real war, but maybe the presence of nukes and the geopolitical situation denied them that particular opportunity. So they're a generation that $30 trillion went into altering their normal historical, cycle in that sense.
Hmm.
On top of everything you were talking about, on top of phones, on top of a multi-trillion-dollar propaganda campaign around wokeism and transgenderism, yada yada yada. Um,
Hmm.
it's a heck of a thing. And then they were also, in a very real sense, denied any kind of mass popular culture. And what they did get was the most corporate slice of popular culture that you could possibly get. Their movies sucked. Um,
Hmm.
it was, it's a heck of a list, on both like the physical, the psychological, the cultural level. We are just living in the most extreme time imaginable, and this I don't think could go on this way if we didn't have the reserve currency and print money out of thin air, if we didn't have nukes, if we didn't have all of these things that really enabled us to mess around with and delay normal historical cycles.
Hmm.
And then don't forget baby boomers, right? Baby boomers, their number, their mass, their wealth concentration, the power of their media and storytelling. It was just a behemoth. It was really something, and that goes into their overall control of the scientific story and narrative. It's just at
Hmm.
every single angle. Gen Z was told, sorry guys, I've got a dog who is in need of attention over here. Every single
Don't worry,
part of that,
mine do
yeah,
all the time too.
every single part of their lives, they were given this monolithic, unbelievably powerful narrative about the nature of the world. And yet, the real nature of the world was diverging harder and faster from the story than I think any generation in history, right? Like
Hmm.
but the baby boomers believed their story, and that was a true, functioning, workable story for basically their entire lives. And then, I am super late Gen X. Our story was mostly true for quite some time. We didn't quite get the American dream story of the baby boomers en masse. And then there's that story just started getting more and more divergent from reality over time, and it's a recipe for insanity, right? Like when
Hmm.
it really is this cognitive dissonance machine. And so, Tommy, to your point, does every young generation have its rebellions, its struggles? Yeah, absolutely. But also, got to take a pretty big step back and go, okay, their gut bacteria was wiped out by glyphosate from the time that they were children. And that was before, it's not just estrogen in the water, it's aerosolized estrogen. That's
Yep.
before they were in grade schools with virtually no male teachers or role models whatsoever. That's before the Boy Scouts started letting in girls. That was right. And you could just go down the list of institutional failure and corruption and blah, blah, blah. It's a heck of a list. And, from their point of view, it's like, yeah, fuck it, I'll just chop my dick off. Like, let's see what happens, right? It actually
Yeah.
seems from their internal point of view, it's
Yeah.
actually kind of a reasonable position.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about it. That's why this space we had was so fun, is we just started like because it wasn't just it turned into not just being about Gen Z. It started talking about a lot of the things that were just unintended consequences, right? Like look at Napster. Like music used to be a real thing, right? Like art was a real thing. Like these were things that people spent their lives pursuing. They were valued by society. Like even if they were complete degenerates, like you saw musicians as geniuses, even if they were a little crazy,
Mhm.
right? But now, since the dawn of Napster, music means nothing because you could just go get it for free. You don't have to invest in it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like that with a lot of things, like with art. It used to be like my daughter all my kids are like I love bragging about my kids. My kids, they've all skipped grades. They all test off the charts on IQ. But my oldest daughter, who's dyslexic, is an artist like you wouldn't believe. Like she can paint like I would say like almost Da Vinci level. She's so good, right? And nobody gives a shit because they could just go on Photoshop and do the same thing. So it's like the value of what she can do is not considered valuable because people don't realize how difficult it is. You know, and it's the same thing with music. Like you said, the shitty movies. It's the same thing with cinema. Now you just say to AI, make this movie where, Julius Caesar wears a toga the other way, and it just creates it out of thin air with no talent to it, no art. And now they've been like it's like our society has almost been sterilized that way. And it's even that way with information. I say to you, like, oh, we say the thing about Caesar's toga. If you said that to someone in Gen Z or even millennials, they'll just go, "Oh," and pull out their phone, Google it, say, "Oh, that's cool," and walk on. It's like they don't even think about it like we would. Like we're like, "Wow, that's actually really cool." Like I wonder why he did. I wonder, like we're trying to like get into the imagination of it and think about the fact we have all these records from thousands of years ago where we know what Julius Caesar looked like. We know what his speeches were because they were written down. Like we understand these things. They could just give a shit. They just ask Grok and just move on. And it's kind of like it's. I feel bad for society as a whole for it.
No,
You know.
it's tragic, and I think we have to lay a lot of this at the the John Taylor Gatto model of what happened to education. And
Yep.
we were at least educated in a, if not a classical way, at least a simulacrum of a classical way that gave you context and you know was really a framework for discovering meaning, whether you realized it or not, and all the books they had you read, etc. And yeah, man, I honestly like you really kind of from like a cognitive point of view have to look at Gen Z and say they're almost a new kind of a species,
Hmm.
in certain very fundamental ways. And we don't know what the outcome of that experiment is going to be. And Halsey, to your point of just like, we could talk all day about how different their world is. If you haven't read it yet, Brett and Heather did Hunter Gatherer's Guide to the Modern World.
Yeah,
And
I've seen it.
yeah, and it's just a list of the unintended consequences of modernity, whether it's blue light coming from your LED bulbs instead of warm incandescent light or candlelight or firelight. That plays a role
Hmm.
in hormones. And you just the way that food is picked early and artificially ripened radically changes the nutritional. It's on and on and on. And you can just talk about all of these things. And it's all kind of like I heard an interesting thing once that like if you're Gen X or older, you had a chance to establish a decent gut biome before the
Hmm.
introduction of a lot of stuff, and huge numbers of your neurochemicals come from your gut. So Gen Z never had a chance to develop a proper gut biome relationship, which has all kinds of neurochemical downstream effects, et cetera, et cetera. And so, really, when I say another species, I kind of sort of mean it, like, on almost a biological level. It's,
Hmm.
we have no idea what's going to happen, right? And
So I
look,
got something. I got something interesting for you on that. I'm sorry to interrupt you,
no, go ahead.
but I'm actually writing this book with a friend of mine. We've been talking about it for a while, and we realized we were onto something a little bit more than we thought. And I started interviewing neuroscientists and different psychiatrists and all stuff because I knew I was onto something, but I really wanted to look into it. And it's called the relationship LARP, right? And it's about how our evolution has created systems for us to pair bond, right? Pheromones and different types of things that are biological in nature. The internet has completely upended that
Mm,
because the biggest thing about relationships is that they develop. It's you can't just love someone that like I know we all have seen movies where they felt love at first sight, all that. But like relationships take time because you have to be protective. You have to understand, is this person a psychopath?
right.
Like, and you're not going to get that from typing at them through a screen. Anyone could be anything on a screen. So the concept is that without all of these breaks that you have, like when you sit down at a coffee shop, is this person rude to the waitress? Does she slurp her soup? Does she talk in a way that grates on your soul? Like all of these things, like we abandon all the guardrails, right? And now on the internet, since every date has to be better, like obviously no one's going to continue dating if the first date is amazing and they all suck worse and worse after that. And the internet, in order to do that, you go from hi, how are you to I love you and want to have your kids in a month. And these people have never met. I know people that have gotten engaged who haven't met yet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's a train wreck when they meet. Every time, universally, it is a train wreck when they meet. You know what I'm saying? It's awkward. They don't know how to act around each other. And these are people that have said, I love you. We're engaged. I want to have your children. Like they have shared every intimate detail that could possibly exist with each other. And they meet and have nothing to say. It's just so awkward. They don't even know what to do. They might like hook up a couple times. They separate and then they break up.
And
You know?
that's so. I'd like to add a interesting layer onto that from my background. So I worked on a lot of movies, worked with a lot of kind of A-list beautiful actresses, and I get this question all the time: who is the most beautiful actress you ever worked with? And my answer is always the same, which is that I never ever worked with an actress where there wasn't a PA who was hotter than her working on the set. Ever, not once. And like
That's awesome.
yeah, and like I handed Angelina Jolie her writing crop in Mr. and Mrs. Smith in the S&M scene. So like I've seen some shit.
You've seen it.
Yeah. And so the thing that I tell people is that it's the 2D girl versus 3D girl problem. So as when you're a baby learning what to give meaning to what you're seeing, it's a process, right? And so when a human being sees another human being, you're constantly mapping and three-dimensionalizing the human face, and you're applying meaning to that three-dimensionality. When with the advent of mass media, all of the images are now flat. They're 2D, whether you're seeing it on a screen or seeing it on a magazine. But we still have the evolutionary drive to three-dimensionalize that face. And what happens is that all of us three-dimensionalize that face a little bit differently. And so when you look at, women in particular with a mass appeal, whether we're talking about models or actresses, when you meet them in real life, they have a severity to their face. There's an angularity to it that it's not unattractive, but it's also a little bit odd looking. It's not.
It's unnerving.
It's unnerving. That's a great word. It's a little bit unnerving.
Not uncanny valley isn't the right word, but that kind
it's
of
close.
Yeah.
It's close to that. And the very first feature film I ever worked on was this movie called Taxi, where all of the villains were played by supermodels. And one of the very first things I ever did, the prop master gave me $100 and he said, "Go buy cigarettes." And I had to go buy a bunch of cigarettes, and I took them to their trailers. And like I was kind of just struck by that as a young man, to go, "Huh, this isn't what I was expecting." And so the act of taking a 2D image and three-dimensionalizing it is one of the reasons why when it comes to online dating, you get that you don't look anything like your pictures.
Right.
And part of it is, yes, people obviously choose the most flattering pictures they have available of themselves. We all do. But there's something deeper there, right? Which is that when you're a guy on a dating site, you want her to be beautiful, your version of beautiful. And so you three-dimensionalize her face to your preferences. And then you meet them and go, "Oh my God, you look nothing like your pictures." So to your point, you go and meet someone online, you exchange pictures, you even do a Zoom call like this, and you meet them and they don't have the face that is imprinted in your mind.
Yep. And you feel almost betrayed by it. You feel almost betrayed by it.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a betrayal. And so, yeah, I mean, talk about a major problem of modernity, which is that you don't actually even know what they look like. You think you do.
I think it goes back to what you said, though. It goes back to that it is an evolution to a new biological being that we're not used to. That's why, like, it's very different from like I'm Gen X as well. We didn't understand the baby boomers because they were so stiff and they were so this and they had been through so much and we hadn't, and that we had our generational issues. But the issue since the millennials, with the advent of kids who grew up with computers and technology that we never had, they're different. Like they are a new layer of evolution. And I don't think they figured it out yet. Like, I don't think they're saying, "Well, we're this way and you're that way, and that's why it is." I don't even think they understand it themselves.
How could they?
Yeah. So it's almost like you said, with the gut bacteria, with the educational ways that they're done. Like, I have a friend, he looked into this, and it turns out there's been dozens of studies. They're just very hard to find. That there was a shift when women really integrated into schools, right? That they just weren't doing as well as the men. And a lot of people like to just say, well, they have lower IQs than men on the average, right? But then there was something that they did to make them do better in school. They geared education towards girls, which is great for girls, but it fucking sucks for men.
Well, and
So,
phenomenally successful, right? When 77 or some odd percent of new college classes are all women, when 70, I think 70% of new med school entrants are women, et cetera.
mhm,
I think we touched on this on our last conversation with EM. They turned school into the longhouse,
yep.
right? And so it is, the question isn't, to your point, it's not that women have lower IQs or anything like that. It's that male dominated environments have a radically different communication structure
Hmm.
and relationship with reality. And what happens is women come into, traditionally male dominated environments. And it's not that they're good or bad at the job, and it's not that they can or can't hack a particular environment. It's that they, at a certain number, they change the hunting party mindset, language structure, relationship with reality to the longhouse relationship with reality. And,
Hmm.
this is something I've been thinking about since our last conversation. The longhouse reality, it's not 100% right to call it artificial. It's
Hmm.
or wrong. It's more an issue of, oh, no,
I'm here.
it's doing something super important. It's keeping the tribe alive through the winter and managing envy, which is like one of the most powerful human emotions. That's a critical civilizational technology. And it's just shouldn't be applied in certain areas. And I think you could make the argument that part of the world that we're living in is that the longhouse methodology, worldview, etc., has been universally applied. It's
Hmm.
very, very hard to find places, like outside of small startup culture, outside of, certain military units, high level military units, etc. There are these places where the masculine worldview dominates, but you can kind of name them on two hands.
Yeah, it's
And,
true.
right? And so isn't that also another radical Gen Z change, which is that they're maybe the first generation to grow up in a fully longhouse environment?
It's
That's a big.
again so totally true. It's totally true. And again, like what did you see when they shifted these educational models too? Most men, the advent of ADD and ADD med propagation exploded. And it's like, well, now they're born with a brain deficiency. No, they're not. They're just bored.
They're just bored.
Like, yeah, they're sitting in an environment where they're not being challenged, so they're getting bored. And men don't sit and be quiet when they're bored, they act out.
Right.
So it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, what we'll do is we'll give you meth. You know what I'm saying? Like it's okay, great trade-off. Like I have to sit here bored to tears, but at least I'm high as a kite while I'm doing it. And it's and then we wonder why there's problems. When people go, well, why is it? Where are the men? Why aren't they stepping up and doing their thing? Why aren't they rescuing society? It's like, well, they live in a society that every time they try to excel at anything, they mold it towards people that aren't them and say, no, what you're doing is wrong and what they're doing is right. And there's no reward to it. It's like you go out and you do something like masculine. That's why I'm lucky I've been on both sides of the coin. When you're in the trades, right? There's no question about whether you're masculine or feminine. If a pipe weighs 300 pounds and you're bringing it in to fix a fucking toilet, right? Like it doesn't matter if a woman wants to do it, she can't. You know what I'm saying? Like it's too heavy. And so when you call a plumber and a guy shows up, you're happy. When you call a plumber and a girl shows up, you're like, okay, what is this shit? Right? So there are still masculine dominated, like you said, the military or and like there's still masculine dominated, kind of things. And in order to keep society going, and again, this came back to what I said about war too. Men have to find a way to validate themselves for women. Like that's how reproduction happens. And everywhere where there's been this shift towards a weird kind of equality between the sexes, the birth rate gets destroyed. Like the only people that are having women are societies that don't have this shit. You
Well,
know, like
it breaks hypergamy, right?
right,
It's, and so, and, I think Ian made this point on our last call. When men are out in the hunting party is where the male hierarchy gets established, right? In the
sure,
real world against real stuff. So the men come back from the hunting party and their women sort via the male hierarchy, right? And so
yep,
so all of that has been relatively broken too. And it's this is an Eric Weinstein point, which is that what the hell do we do with disagreeable men, right? Like
hmm
once upon a time, the Harvard math department was a place for disagreeable men. It was a
right,
place, it was, we created these places for our highly disagreeable autist,
DARPA, ARPA,
our
Jason.
ARPA, yeah, the Jasons, JPL, etc. And I think COVID is kind of maybe might be the high watermark of this, which is think of COVID and everything around it wasn't a scientific response to a novel virus. It was an longhouse exercise in conformity of
It was
opinion.
it was printing your
hmm
way. It was the equivalent of printing your way out of like a bad economy. It was totally
hmm
artificial, based entirely on like sudden blitzkrieg weight and consensus. And you can convince everyone in the world we can all convince each other for like a day that like the moon's never coming out again. Like we can
hmm
do it for like 6 or 7 hours, but it's already 10:30. It's in a while we're gonna be hit with reality. But um I was just thinking to what you said about, when you meet like the hyper attractive, and that's always been true. And it is a weird phenomena because I went to the University of Georgia. There's no shortage of beautiful women. But
Oh
there's
my God.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Holy
yeah.
shit. I went to the university. One of the colleges I went to was the University of Alabama, and we used to go to the
It's
University of Georgia on some weekends. Holy
it's
shit.
it's
It's like they plant
it's
them.
almost criminal.
Like literally, like they
It's
grow
almost
there. Like
it's almost
it's you're like,
it's
holy
almost
shit.
it's almost criminal. But like
hmm
the weird thing is like, so it's like, what's the absolute apex? What is like gold of the gold? And there's normally like 3 or 4 chicks on that everyone accepts as like that's the goddess of the goddess.
Yep.
But if you ever start talking to just like any of your buddies, they all have the same consensus of like you're more attracted to the chick in biochemistry though. There's some
Yep.
like everyone knows that like that is the 10, but if you really get under the skin, most guys are like, I mean, that's not my 10. There's this weird thing
hmm
where we all accept like that is the symmetrical perfection, but honestly, you're a lot more attracted to that chicken calculus. And it's a weird thing
hmm
of like and it's not that it's a lie. It's not that everyone says, "Well, I only said she was attractive because you did." That's a whole different thing. Everyone agrees she is it, but there's a certain energy behind like your own sexual attraction that isn't quite there that it is there with like the girl next door type thing.
hmm
Which has got me thinking, I wonder how much of that, just back to social media, it really wasn't until you and Donnie said that. How many things do we all think is the perfect ideal thing? And again, not the whole lying thing where I only said that because you said it.
Right.
Is there some ideal that we all think is perfect, but deep down we wouldn't want it? Like,
So this is where the conversation headed, and kind of why I wanted to bring it up with both of you in the first place, was that we were talking at the end, and everyone knows I love EM. EM has changed my way of thinking on a lot of different things. I think he's rock solid on research, on history. But there's one thing I have always disagreed with him on. Every time we do a show together, we disagree on it. Like a lot of people think that the end result of these issues is going to be like some massive civil war or some kind of highly violent like event where people get pushed too far. And I always say I don't really see that. Like that happens very, very, very rarely, right? And then we talk about what did they do to us? How did they change our society? And everyone says they marched through our institutions, right? And they took over our institutions one by one, whether it be the communists, the left, whatever you want to call them, feminists, whatever it is. They marched through our institutions, they took them over, and now we're fucked. And it's like, no, you're not understanding what it means to march through the institutions, right? It's not like we have to go take back Hollywood. It's that we have to understand that what they did was they took our own understanding of reality and turned it on its head. Diversity is one of the greatest things on the planet, as long as you don't apply it to arbitrary characteristics. To say that it's great to have diversity because there's a black person, a Spanish person, a Jewish person, and a Christian person in a room, that leads nothing to no one except for
Retarded.
maybe if they like each other, they have a good conversation. Diversity is college used to be for rich people and smart people. And why wouldn't we celebrate that? Why wouldn't we want to know there are institutions out there for rich people and smart people that are going to make the world a better place? And maybe getting a degree in lesbian underwater dance theory with a $500,000 student loan is probably not good for anyone,
Yeah.
right? Like, why it's that diversity. It's the idea that, if we're going to talk about politics, why can't we have diversity of thought? Why do we need to have diversity of race or diversity of religion, which means nothing to anybody and just allows us to argue to a point where we can never win the argument or change any minds? Because you can tell me how great it is to be a Catholic every single day and show me point by point why you think it's so awesome being a Catholic. It's not going to change me into a Catholic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just at the end of the day, we're just going to agree to disagree. So, like, we need to reclaim those institutional standards that they've taken from us, and that doesn't require violent revolution. It requires, like you said, the formation of a reality where we're able to talk openly and not have it be weaponized against us. Like I said, if we say, I would love to have a council that decides who in my town is going to plant bushes, right? Okay, well, is it going to be a diverse council? Yes, we're going to have Republicans and Democrats and libertarians and communists, and we're all going to come to. No, but how many black people are you going to have? Fuck you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it has nothing to do with black people. If black people get on, great. If not, great. I don't give a shit. I want people who have different thoughts that are going to bring something to the table other than something they can't change anyway.
But even like and I 1,000% agree with what you're saying. It's like, but there's even like a flaw in, it's like, is it going to be diverse? Even saying, yes, we're going to have Republicans. I feel like even, in my opinion, and it's not attacking you, is just to even say yes is itself already like an odd capitul. Like it's going to be what it's going to
Sure.
be. It's like, are the Boston Celtics going to be diverse? Like, yeah, in the sense that there's a handful of them versus the million of people that try to get in the NBA. I don't. Is it that odd 7'2" white guy from Norway that just happens to ball out in the NBA, or is it your average 6'6" black guy who can just dunk from the free throw? Like, I don't get. Oh yeah, well, one of them's Irish and one of them. It's like, no, fuck off. It's like, are they diverse?
Yeah.
Like, yes or no or no, and that also doesn't matter. It's like, are all the
Mhm.
panels in this are all the panels in this nuclear reactor diverse? Like, no, 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 they are actually identical. And that's
Mhm.
fucking great. You don't want a diverse nuclear reactor. You're like, dude, that's leaking polonium. Like, it's so I think even to answer to the yes it is or it isn't, like, no, 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 the thing is what the thing is. Like,
Mhm.
I'm in a big apartment building. Like, I hope to God Almighty, like, the girders in this building are not diverse. Like, I hope that they
Yeah.
are that they are hyper homogenous, like fucking like
Mhm.
Nazis of steel girders. To even approach it of like, is it like, no, 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 it is what it is. And it's like,
Mhm.
uh again, another one would be like, the planes on the wings on the plane are flapping, and it's like, thank God they do. They are built to flap so that they don't destroy when they hit that random, gust of wind or wind turbulence, or you want them to do that. And you don't want, I don't know, a steel girder to do that, but you want the thing. My point is like, to put this endpoint conclusion on it and say, like, does it fit into this boxes? I don't know. And that really doesn't matter. If you start coming in reverse and go like, well, did we make sure that we got some steel rivets from China and do we get some from Mexico? Like, do you want to? Absolutely The fuck not? Skunk Works from Lockheed Martin's program when they were building the SR-71 Blackbird. There wasn't a diversity of it. They actually had such a stringent line, and they were able to do that because they just had a blank check from the CIA. They went all the not just who was working on this rivet and that rivet. So if something happened on the assembly line, we could go back and find out who did it. They've tracked it all the way back to the actual mine it was from and what area of the mine. So if something
Hmm.
happened, they could go back and say, is the actual ore an issue? Or is it something along the, no, is that diverse? Absolutely the fuck not. Was that a problem that it wasn't diverse? No, it was going faster than a speeding bullet at, the edge of space. So it's like, in that sense, to even say, like, is it diverse? Is so fucked. And then on the flip side, it's like, is your diet diverse or is your gut biome diverse? You're like, I hope. I really
Yeah.
hope that I have a wildly intricate and heterogeneous immune system. So to even just in my I just obviously just speaking aloud, but like that even that end point of is it or is it not, like I don't know and I don't care. Like, does it function?
Hmm.
So I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Uh, Tommy, two things come to mind from your what you just said. One
My
is
out my out of body yelling.
your stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
There's this great saying I like. It says, "Science is the study of why, and engineering is the study of why not."
Hmm.
Fair.
Right.
Yeah.
So I like that one. And there's also something along those lines. The law of limits is an interesting thing to consider, right? Which is that
Hmm.
there is no effective use of power without structural limits. So
Hmm.
if you think about an internal combustion engine, there has been tar and oil on the surface of the earth for the whole of human history. But until you can create an internal combustion engine, that power is effectively useless except for heat and light, right? You can light it on
Yep.
fire, but until you can contain that light and fire, you can't do very much. Think about a gun, right? The first, the Chinese had black powder for quite some time. It wasn't until other people figured out how to contain and limit that black powder in the form of a cannon or a gun that all of a sudden it changed warfare. So it used to be a compliment to describe a man as having a discriminating mind.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And, a part of that is can you look at your, like you said, Tommy, you want there to be a very diverse ecosystem that you're a part of because you want there to be a lot of raw materials, a lot of different optionality in your environment. But when it comes time to make the SR-71 Blackbird, that is a study and that is a top tier study of limits at
Yeah.
every level, from material science to engine design, et cetera, et cetera. In fact, it's such an interesting example because the thing leaked gas on the ground and didn't seal up until it was at altitude. So it had to be designed for one set of limits in the air and another set of limits on the ground. That's how well they understood limits,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
right?
More it was more efficient at higher speeds, like retarded shit.
And the crazy thing is, as I understand it, designed on a napkin in a diner and in the air 14 months later,
Yeah, most
Hmm.
of the things were. And
right?
and to what you're saying about it's only valuable to the oil and tar, the next big thing after that, the F-117, the first stealth fighter, right? The it's called the Hopeless Diamond. That design was actually made, or the equations around that design, because they found that radar return was scale independent, so it didn't matter. It just mattered what the shape was. That the guy that pioneered those equations, middle of the Soviet Union, like decades prior,
Hmm.
and they were like, "We can't do this. This is retarded." Somehow, I didn't even know how it got to the U.S., but we made it and then use it. So again, it's like, yeah, not only the limits, but time and place. Like the guy that made
Hmm.
that design was like probably executed for like not being productive, like And then it comes here and it's like the bee's knees. It's the bell of the ball, and
Hmm.
yeah, yeah,
Well, we've also gotten rid of that ingenuity too. And we've that again, this is one of those institutional things is that we've taken reality and taken it out of the equation for so many things that when we're talking about reality, a lot of it doesn't even make sense to the people saying it anymore, right? You'll say, look at DDT. Okay, the studies are in, the science is there. DDT was the safest pesticide literally ever made. You can drink it. You don't even need to wash off your stuff from DDT. It was banned due to environmental hysteria by a poet, not even a scientist, who wrote a book about how it was making eggshells thinner. And by the time they passed the ban on DDT, malaria had become a nuisance disease in Africa. Since then, tens of millions of people have died of malaria because we banned DDT and we said we won't give aid to any country that uses it. And we sit back now and go, okay, well, then why are we using all these highly toxic pesticides even today? Because no one could ever go into Congress and say, you know what we need to do? We need to make DDT legal again. You know what I'm saying? The same thing with nuclear power. We sit here and go, I mean, I'm not a big person into the whole global warming thing anyway, but it's like, okay, the problem is carbon emissions. Okay, well, why aren't we using nuclear then? There's zero carbon emissions and it provides everything we need. Why don't we do that? No, no. It's too dangerous. Really? Because of Chernobyl? Like, we know what happened with Chernobyl. That wasn't like a common thing, you know?
Yeah, it's yeah, no, I mean, I think global warming is horseshit. But even if it wasn't, the thing is like nuclear power still solves that. Is the problem carbon emissions? Well, there you go. Is it extracting oil? There you go. Let's say none of that's real and it's just about energy independence. Well, there you go. Let's say it has nothing to do with independence. There's world peace. All right, well, just transfer of energy, reliability, density, the ability to scale. We have 8 billion people. Can we do this with 50 billion people? Nuclear solves all the problems. And it's
Well, also there's something no one talks about, Tommy, and this is insane, right? There was a program that Kennedy instituted. It was called Atoms for Peace,
no Eisenhower.
right?
Eisenhower.
Oh, it was Eisenhower. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, power
So
too cheap
Atoms
to
for,
meter. Yeah.
but it wasn't just that. It was that it was building regular water reactors, light water reactors for these countries. You cannot use those reactors to make nuclear bombs. Right? But because all of a sudden the environmentalists got a hold of it and said we shouldn't be building nuclear reactors anywhere, now we have the issue with all of these countries that want nuclear are like, well, fuck it, I'll get a heavy water reactor then and I'll start developing nuclear bombs too. Like we took a great idea and completely bastardized it with activist science to take away something that actually would have led to peaceful solutions around the world. You know?
And the most infuriating thing is like this this isn't a pipe dream and it's not new. Under Eisen, his presidential address, his inaugural address was on a black and white TV. Like since then, we've had the ability to have power too cheap to meter, and we haven't implemented it, which tells you that the real pushback against it or the arguments around it are not real. And by that,
Sure.
I'll say like, so when we were designing the A bomb, we didn't know if it was going to work. And I've used this example before as an example of of total war. Another thing we were doing simultaneously was this idea of we are going to get like 3 million bats, and we are going to tie these little bags of glycerin to their chests, and that they were going to have timed fuses for 12 hours. And we were going to dump them out of like 10,000 planes over Tokyo during the middle of the day, and all the bats were going to go find places to sleep, which would be in attics and stuff. Most of Tokyo was wood, and then 12 hours later it would blow up, and it would be more effective than even incendiary raids. We tested it and it kind of worked, but it didn't go towards the designated town. It actually went back to the Air Force base and burned down all the base. And then less than 72 hours later, we detonated Trinity and we were like, all right, fuck the other one. But my point is like, that is an example of total war. Of like, we are throwing everything at this. Hopefully this weird star thing works, but if it doesn't, we're going to go like Home Alone, bats and napalm. And it's because we wanted to win at all costs. That's how you know, like, the real fear and hysteria around global warming is dog shit, is by, if you truly believed that this was the end of the world, you'd be like, all right, nuclear for whatever reason. Let's just say it's not my primary, like, favorite choice, but we should probably develop that alongside geothermal and wind and all the shit. The fact that it's just thrown out, if somebody came and go, we're not doing the bad thing, that's crazy, that would make you start to wonder, be like, do you not think this is a real war? Like that person would be thrown out of the room. Like,
Right.
And that's kind of where I always come down on it is like if you really same thing with COVID. If this was really the worst thing ever, you would be saying, yeah, maybe ivermectin works, maybe it doesn't. Go for it though. It's the end of the world. The fact
Hmm.
that there isn't that tells me that there's another reason for that, and it's a form of hysteria, obviously for top-down control. But that's kind of
Well,
where I come
they've
on
done
that.
studies on that. They've done studies on that where, if you think about it, right, when we grew up, I'm talking about me and Donnie more somewhat you too. Okay, crime was really out of control. Like the crime rates were the highest the country had basically ever seen, right? And our parents kicked us the fuck out of the house and said, "Don't come home until the streetlights come on." Right now, we are at the lowest crime rates the world has ever seen, and parents are terrified to let their kids go to the park by themselves because they might get abducted. Okay, like we don't have a relationship with reality anymore that works. And they've done studies and they showed after the fall of the Soviet Union, when we didn't have a collective enemy anymore, the use of terms in the media like catastrophic and disaster and things like that exploded because they were looking for that new cause that would unite people and sell newspapers, basically. And because of that, we created mass hysteria on everything. You can't just have a nuanced conversation on anything. It's either the ultimate good or the ultimate evil. And we've done this to ourselves. You know what I'm saying? And it's to the point now where we don't even use reality in arguments anymore. I saw a clip. They were doing a hearing on with Homan about immigration, and Eric Swalwell, who's a retard in and of itself, he got up and he says, "I hope that you have good lawyers because when we take back over, we're going to put you on trial for arresting a 5-year-old and putting him in jail." We know that didn't happen. The
Yeah,
kid's father ran away. They actually took him back to the station, took care of him. What were they supposed to do? Leave a 5-year-old on the street by himself?
yeah,
Like, but he said it with the utmost confidence
that's
that
true. Yeah,
everyone knew this was true. And it's like, how do we do that? Like it used to be when I was growing up, if a politician told like a fib, like something inconsequential and got blatantly caught, like they were almost unelectable. You know what I'm saying? Like the media would just destroy them for having the gall to say a fib. You know what I'm saying? And now it's like you can just make shit up out of the blue and everyone just accepts it as reality. You know?
yeah. It does, and this is kind of a theme that I've come back to a zillion times on the show. Is you kind of do need an external force, and it doesn't necessarily need to be war. Just in general, you do seem to need some form of struggle, and it's not some yearning for pain or yearning for a daddy or no, it seems almost across the board, with the exception of I guess a few enlightened individuals. Hey, God bless, but almost nobody does good when you don't have responsibilities and obligations and selective pressures. My perfect example of myself by like if I take a 3 day weekend, by the third day, I'm like, I need to get back to work. I'm doing fucking nothing. There's like, I don't have to be anywhere. So, like, why shouldn't it take me 45 minutes to move from the couch to the toilet? Like, and that's like relatively harmless, but like, walk into the kitchen and like, because I don't have to, I got a show in 5 minutes. It's like, maybe I do the dishes. Maybe halfway through, I legitimately look at Twitter for an hour in my kitchen, just
Mhm.
standing there. And that's just, but for this stuff, it's like, and you have to be careful of not sliding into, all right, well then we need a world war. It's like, well, that's the other end of it. Don't do that. But we almost need something. Because if we don't just accept peace. We just go to war. Like you said, this thing that didn't happen. I hope you have
Yeah.
good lawyers because we're gonna prosecute you, which isn't even legally possible because you're federal agents carrying out there is no like, oh, if it's just if we all had enough food and water, we'd be at peace. Like, yeah, I don't know. Actually,
Hmm.
I don't really think so. And so it's like, well, then if you're gonna have that friction or you need that friction, try to get it in something or from something that has a net benefit. And it's I think I've
Yep.
brought up before, and it's not a new idea, but like let's go to space and let's fuck China. We got to get there first, even if it's just a pride thing. Get there and go do something because there's something comes from that. So, there's going to be some trickle down technology, if not an outright like breakthrough in the economy. but I don't think there's this like place where if we don't have it, we all just hang out. It seemingly is like the last 10 years specifically have really illuminated that like that couldn't be further from everything's working out fine. Internet's good. You can get DoorDash. It's like, all right, I'll chop my fucking dick off and if you don't call me a woman, I'm gonna shoot up a local school. Like, holy shit. Like, yeah.
Dude, I saw a meme the other day, but it was so true that it was like it kind of like fucked me up a little bit. It said the typical person has a not for me, but the typical person has a decision to make every evening. Do they want DoorDash to deliver a $28 burger, or do they want to drive 2 blocks and pick it up themselves for $6?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's true. Like I know tons of people who do that. I know people who order their coffee on DoorDash from Dunkin' Donuts. Like a $4 cup of coffee now costs $12, and it would have taken them 5 minutes to go grab it themselves, and they don't.
Yeah, I think we do need the Donnie.
Like I say, Tommy, everything that you described is a kind of a reflection on the law of limits, isn't it? Whether we're talking about the Soviet Union and America, the Soviet Union provided a very interesting limit. Another way to think about limits is that if you're floating in space and you want to go somewhere, there's nothing to push off of.
Yeah.
Right. Like you actually need some type of entity that's doing maybe something you don't like in order to actually move in the direction you want to move. And there's an interesting way to maybe look at the history of the United States and go, okay, well, at first it was the British. Okay, cool. Then it was the British again, and then it was Indians, and then it was the frontier, right? And then we had the Gilded Era and we went insane, and then the Great Depression and World War II and the Cold War and the space race. All of these historical events you could look at as they were the thing that we were pushing off of into the unknown. And so Cold War ends, and we are looking for the next thing to push off of. And
Mm-hmm.
I think Elon's trying to come up with something, but really it has been. And look, the other piece of it is kind of the loss of the American dream. Once upon a time, it was like, okay, buy a house, make some kids. Well, that somehow got made financially unattainable for a couple of generations. So yeah, what are we pushing off of, and what direction are we going in? We don't know. That's I
Yeah.
think that's a
But
piece of where we learn.
someone made this comparison to me the other day too. I always talk about how like people hate the military. They the military is so evil, and the military industrial complex, or almost every piece of technology that we have today comes from the military.
Of course. Yeah,
Like that's the only people that have enough money to investigate shit that has no commercial appeal until they figure out what it is.
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like there was no benefit to researching what the electron was until they figured out that we now have an entire world run on electronics. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
For sure.
And and it's such a stark difference too, because the Soviet Union's goal was to beat us, right? Our goal was discovery, because our discoveries were going to open doors that would lead us to beating the Soviet Union 10 times over. Right. So you look at both, and the anecdote that my friend always used is he said, when we decided to send people into space, right, we spent something like $10 million, which was a huge amount of money at the time, on figuring out how to create a pen that would work in space. And you know what the Soviets did? They just used a pencil.
Use the pencil.
you
Right.
know, but how much did we discover spending that $10 million? Like I used to when I did a
Hold on,
internship. Oh, go ahead.
and on top of that, the Fisher Space Pen Company has sold how many tens of millions of dollars of pens and employed how many people and developed how much more stuff,
Mhm.
right?
Right. So when I was younger, I did an internship down in DC for a senator, and I got in. He got me into this because he kept saying, "I need you to help some of my constituents with this," and I just got really good at it, and I realized how hard it was. So I started doing it commercially for a little while. Very thankless job. I helped companies get grants from the NIH and the NSF. right? Which are exceptionally difficult. There's why they teach like college classes in how to apply for these grants. They're dozens of pages long, and if you fuck up even one word anywhere, it gets rejected. And you're talking about millions of dollars for these grants. But everyone knows the NIH. They sponsor research into diseases and cancer and all of that. The NSF exists for the complete opposite. It exists to fund science that has no goal. It's just to try to figure out something. And I hate him for this, but it's like one of those things that I can't blame him because he's just not thinking it through. Every year, Rand Paul publishes that list of really dumb shit that the government invested in throughout the year. And this one wanted to research, sexual transmitted diseases in prostitutes and how it affects fruit fly populations. And like we spent $4 million on that. Like, how wasteful is that? It's like you do understand almost every major discovery came with no idea of what the commercial applicability of that research would do. And literally we would probably still be in the Stone Age if we hadn't have done those investigations. So it's like trying to explain that to someone who's just putting it on a like duh level. It's like you sound like an asshole to say like, no, there's a reason why they're fucking doing that. I know you want to think that it's all money laundering and that they're trying to fund just funnel money to some scientist in Colombia to discover about fruit flies and shit like that. There's a reason for this. There's a reason why these go through internal reviews with dozens of scientists to determine who gets the money and who doesn't. And they awarded this grant for a very good reason. Like, just you don't wrap your head around it because you're not expected to. You're not going to read the science and figure out what they were actually doing this for, But why do you want to fuck us over? Like, we print money like it's fucking water for the dumbest shit imaginable. How many billions were stolen just in Minnesota from fucking Medicare fraud, right? Or Medicaid fraud? Like, and you're complaining about science, which we have proven over and over and over and over. These scientific discoveries lead to shit. Like they have led to us basically ruling the world. So it's like it's hard to argue with people about the government spends so much money on so much dumb shit. It's like, yeah, you're welcome. Like it
Yeah.
really is mind blowing.
It's one of the great blind spots of the right and of libertarians. If you believe that the free market solves all problems, and you don't believe in the concept of market failure, and you don't believe in the concept that the market radically misprices certain things, basic scientific research being one of them. If you have that blind spot, you say, yeah, absolutely, fruit flies and prostitutes. Like, I don't understand. But if you do understand the concept of market failure, if you do understand that, especially today's business environment, blue sky research, et cetera, is really constrained, then yeah, you make some type 1 errors in your thinking. And he comes up often, but I'm going to do it again. Eric Weinstein talks a lot about this, and I think it's relevant from two different parts of our conversation. Tommy, you talking earlier about science and hey, if we were serious about this, we would have nuke reactors, et cetera, et cetera. Eric's point is subtle and interesting, which is that yeah, it looks like a bunch of stupid decisions. At the height of the Cold War, it might also be that science got way too dangerous, way too fast, and we had to put a major halt on that because, and look, back to our whole thing about like the destruction of the institutions. What if you just fill all of your physics department with, aspie, smart, disagreeable white men? Would someone have developed Ice 9 by now and we'd be living on a frozen planet? Or would have someone created a black hole in a lab and we all would have been sucked into it? Like
Gray goo. Yeah.
Did we actually purposefully destroy some of these institutions because they just got too damn dangerous too fast? And the only place where we can do the real stuff is inside the Skunk Works or Sandia or one of these places. And was Epstein going around and collecting people, right? Because Eric talks about his meeting with Epstein and Epstein wanting to fund geometric unity. It was like there were people going around collecting these guys, right, and funding them, etc. And so it's like there's a whole nother world and layer beneath this conversation that we're having, that we're just beginning to get any
Break
kind of visibility into.
breakaway
Well,
civilization.
me and Tommy have talked. I literally say this on almost every podcast.
Sorry to interrupt. And Halsey, what you were saying the
Go
last
ahead,
one. Start. The commercial
please.
use of microwave was an
Hmm.
accident. They were fucking with it in some defense lab, and the scientist realized the chocolate bar in his pocket was melted. And he was like, "What is that about?" That little canard. Microwaves.
Hmm.
Microwaves.
Yeah. Rand Paul would have been like, they were trying to shoot waves at a chocolate bar. Like, you fucking
Hmm.
dyke. Sorry.
But it's funny because if you take the time to look into the differences between the Soviet Union and the US during the Cold War, right? There's so much that gets revealed about not the problems with communism, the problems with all systems, right? And again, you've probably heard me say this 100 times because I constantly say it. In the Soviet Union, right, there were very few news media publications, and they were exceptionally controlled by the state, right? Like they were just basically propaganda arms. But everyone just knew they were bullshit, and then some believed it, some didn't. But that's how they controlled what people thought. America did it the American style. We did the opposite. We created the internet and everything else, and mass publication to the point where we have so many information sources you just can't trust any of them. You know what I'm saying? Because you could find two opinions on every single thing that exists. If someone says the sky is blue, you'll find 20 different scientific studies and media publications that agree with you. And then someone who says no, it's not, will have the same amount of evidence right there at their hands. So again, we're falling into the same trap of the Soviet Union is the information is completely controlled and we don't believe a fucking word of it. Right. And when you look at those two systems and how they've interacted with each other over the course of all this time, and you see what has it developed? America is a country based on technology, right? Our intellectual property is what makes us such a world superpower. Russia, which is arguably like a third world country compared to us, is also completely rooted in oil, in farming, in hard labor institutions, which makes it inherently more stable. Okay, so we sit back and we go, okay, we kicked the Soviet Union's ass, and that's a good thing, but we're not taking the lessons of what was wrong with both countries during this time and what were the successes. I say this about globalism too. Everyone loves to talk about how bad globalism failed. It didn't. Globalism was such a resounding success that we're working without a net now. We don't know what to do with the benefits of globalism. At the turn of the 20th century, 73% of the world lived in abject poverty. The number's now under 10%. That's because of globalism. But we're working without a net. We don't know what to do with this level of prosperity and a lack of scarcity. We honestly have no clue. That's why people like the WEF come up with all this ridiculous shit about how the next phase of society should be, because we're all working without a net. That's why polling doesn't work anymore, because whatever was traditionally true just isn't true anymore. So they ask the questions that they've asked for the last 50 years and get a completely different result. You know?
It's, I mean, it's like, it's the DJ Khaled meme that he's got the hand of diamond rings, suffering from success. But it really is
Yeah.
like, you have to push it somewhere. And I think that's why it's like, we do need to go to space and just, I know like the first, people are like, well, why? Why are we like, I don't know, but I'm just drawing on like the history of not just human, like organic life in general on this planet. It's like
I have an
push the
answer for you,
boundary.
Tommy, by the way.
Yeah.
If people say that to you, because I get that all the time, people go, well, why in the fuck are we going back to the moon? Why are we going to Mars? We have 40 trillion in debt, and they lay it all on why this is a really dumb idea. And all I say is because I don't want to be a communist.
Yeah, there you go.
Because the money's going to get spent one way or the other. I would much rather it spent figuring out technologies that are going to bring us to Mars than social welfare programs, which are just going to go to fraud and abuse and make people retarded.
I pref
So
I
that's I just
prefer
said. I don't want to be a communist.
I prefer an answer that's just needlessly confrontational. I just say, well, is God wants it. It's our divine mandate.
I say that sometimes
I just
too.
really just
I love that
they
answer.
already think you're a theocratic national. Just let them know. Be like, well, it's just God's mandate. That's why I always say manifest galaxy. I'm like, it's America's right to own this. Just to fucking because you don't deserve a legitimate answer. Um,
Hmm.
but like in general, that does seem to just be you could limit it to human life, but I think you can extrapolate to most of the history of the reproductive life on Earth
Hmm.
is pushing boundaries into new environments, finding a way to metabolize new things, and then producing as many kids as possible. Like in
Hmm.
general, that's like a pretty acceptable thesis of like
Hmm.
prokaryotes through dinosaurs to now. So
You
like,
know what's funny? Oh, go
yeah.
ahead. I'm
No,
sorry.
I was gonna say like that just kind of seems to be like we're gonna do that type like this podcast. Like I have all these, I always say this, I have all these thoughts and goals and imaginations about the structures of where it's gonna go.
Hmm.
None of them ever come to pass, but they all come to pass, just not in ways I ever thought. And it's like, well, then what's my like first principles? What do it's 8 hours of sleep, go to the gym, meditate and pray, do the podcast, give it your all, network, thank people for their time, blah, blah, blah. I have no
Hmm.
idea. Like I couldn't predict last year. I couldn't tell you like how this year is going to unfold because it's just this
Hmm.
weird novelty engine that every day it's like a hand crank engine and shit just flies out of it. Like it's a magic. It's a magician's hat. I don't know why a rabbit comes out of it. I don't know why money comes out of it. But I know if I show up with that top hat and I like tap it with the wand, shit happens. That's kind of my feeling about going to space. And it's like, well, like, dude, I have no idea. I mean, a cursory, like, surface level, I could say, because trickle down technology and, the need for the high ground, like, but even those are based in some rational, deep down, I don't even believe that. Or I do, but it's like, what do we need? I don't know. It just kind of seems, why did the fucking fish have to leave like, I don't know. It just kind of seems in general, like, if we go there, something good's going to happen.
Hmm.
That's my thesis on it.
Well, I come back to that whole Twitter thing that I said before, right? Obviously, I'm a geopolitical analyst. I've been analyzing, and my focus since I got my MBA was the Middle East, right? I also lived in Israel. I'm Jewish, so I have plenty of data on Israel. But Israel is the outlier of the West because, unlike the rest of the West, for the last 75 years, they've been in constant state of war, right? So, what has it led to? It's led to massive military innovation that we haven't seen since the Cold War. Like, and because of that, that's why they're called a startup nation. You know what I'm saying? They've taken all these technologies that they've created for all of these military inventions that they've done to protect themselves. And what do Twitter people get to? Oh, it's because they rule the world and steal the technology from the West. It's like, no, really, they're just trying to fucking not die. And when you do that, like America did during the Cold War, things get innovated. That's what happens when you're trying to not die. And one of my favorite things when people because people love saying this to me, they go, "Oh, well, it's so degenerate. Tel Aviv is the gayest city on the planet," which I think it does have the highest population of gay people on the planet, and it still has a higher birth rate than every other city on the planet. Still, like, and I'm like, yes, but then yet they still have a higher birth rate than everywhere. So maybe it is struggle. Maybe it's just the fact that they've literally never known peace, that they're just moving forward like this. I mean, I couldn't prove it. I don't have
Sure.
like scientific studies, but I think it makes a little bit more of my argument. Whenever you have a society at war, even a Cold War, innovation happens.
Well,
Donnie.
if I could generalize what you just said, it's a limit, right? And so
Yep.
Tommy, what you were talking about strikes me very much. I don't know if you're familiar with Scott Adams's idea of the differentiation between systems versus goals,
Hmm.
where if you have a goal out there, you've picked the thing, like Tommy, let's just say you want to have 50,000 subscribers. Every day you wake up that you don't have 50,000 subscribers, you failed, right? The setting of a goal means that you are failing every single day until you hit that goal. And then when you hit that goal, you set another one, 100,000, and you're failing again, right? Versus you set up a system. You get up every morning, you do push ups, you send out your emails, right? Like you've constructed a system that spins out, I think, interesting podcasts that people listen to. And that system is gaining in depth and complexity in the type of people you bring on and the size of your network, et cetera. So it's not that you are meeting a goal. It's that you have constructed a system that is spinning out the things that you want. Halsey, that's the exact thing you're talking about between the US approach versus the Soviet approach. The US
Hmm.
figured out a system that spun out all kinds of technology. And so I think an interesting way to think about this whole process is, well, first you have to have some type of limits, whether they're self-imposed or externally imposed. Pick your limits. Is that going to be a fitness goal? Is that going to be a relationship goal? Is that going to
Hmm.
be, I want to date 10 supermodels this year? Whatever it is, you have to set a limit, and which is different from a goal. You have to have an external thing, and then rather than having a goal, build a system where every single day that system does more of what it does a little bit better. And Tommy,
Hmm.
like you said, you might not get exactly what you wanted the way that you wanted, but you got something you didn't even know you wanted. That's kind of like the textbook definition of what a system does. It gives
Hmm.
you things that you didn't know that you wanted, but that are actually better than any goal you could have come up with.
Hmm.
And
And
it,
I
if you
agree.
call that alchemy, you go right ahead.
and it, and the thing is like it is the worst enemy to someone like myself with literal clinical OCD. Trust me, like
Hmm.
it has taken me. I would say probably not to the last like legitimately like, the last 3 months. We're on episode 1960. I would say from like episode 1920, like truly the last sliver that I've finally started accepting that whenever I reach a goal, it is not a goal I was aiming for. It's this thing that
Hmm.
happened. And then I do this retroactive thing where I go, that worked. Now I need to make that thing work more. And it doesn't. There's like a few degrees of growth that you can pump it up, but it's kind of hit its own natural limit by the time the thing blossoms. And then I'm so focused on that, I'm not focused on going forward. I'm still going forward because I'm doing the daily thing, and I'm looking for I just found the whatever the Easter egg. I picked up the rock, and I'm just focusing on that rock. I'm like turning it up. It's like there's nothing else there all the while, and then I bump into a new Easter egg, and it was like behind a bush, and then I get obsessed with the bush. And what I'm finally, and it's still hard for me. I'm kind of accepting like the thing never comes from where it's instead it's the process of looking. It's the system. It's just the and it's a weird fucking alchemy. You get up and you go to the gym, show up, dress, shower, shave, like do all this stuff, and it's just this like weird black box, and you're looking at it and you're like, hey man, it. I know there's like a romantic approach, like yeah, the novelty just comes from it. It's like no, it's really real. Like I don't know how I'm paying rent. I don't like the black box has to do the thing. It's not fun and romantic, and then like bloop, all of a sudden this thing happens. It's like, oh, I can pay my bills for the next 2 months and blah blah blah. And even though every month the black box like giveth, the rational mind is like, I don't fucking like this thing. One day you're gonna tap the brick of lead and it's not gonna turn into gold. But there's never been a month
Tommy,
where it doesn't. So I don't know. I don't know. Given to the wizardry, I guess. I don't.
Your ego
I'm going to
wants
give you a,
control.
I'm
The
going to give
ego
you a,
wants to say I made the thing.
I did this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm going to give you a compliment, Tommy, and I'm going to tie it into a movie for you, Donny, and then I got to run.
yeah.
I didn't realize what time it was,
No shit.
but someone asked me what I enjoy so much about your podcast, and I thought to myself, I really should pay him a compliment on this. There's a movie called Crimson Tide. I don't know if you ever saw it. It was with Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman. It's about a nuclear sub. Denzel Washington is arguably the smartest guy on the show. Like he prevents disaster. Like he was the XO of the ship. But in the beginning, they're sitting on the top of the sub before they submerge, and the him and the captain are watching a sunset, right? And he goes, "Would you?" The captain goes, "Would you look at that?" And Denzel just nods, right? And he waits a few minutes and he looks at it a few seconds and he looks at him. He goes, "Wow, you knew to just shut up and enjoy it at that moment. Like you just really moved up in my book." And I thought, you know what? That's Tommy's podcast.
Woo.
He has something to add all the time, but also when people are really getting into it, he knows just to shut up and sit back and let them do it, and then come in at the end with like his own comments, which makes the whole thing interesting.
That
So
and I appreciate that too has been a thing that's maybe a little more longer, maybe the last 100 episodes. I've really learned like, hey. Sometimes like when I have on like Colonel Murray, Colonel Towners, and like General Blaine together, every once in a while I want to hop in with my own fucking retarded comment about like the hot chicks at UGA, and I'm like, and then another part of me is like, now's not the time.
yeah.
You got all these like retired generals and shit with experience in multiple branches, then and I'm like, like you'll see on shows like that, you'll notice it more and more. I don't know if it shows up on the, I just mute myself. I just won't even, I won't even, so if I do want to talk, I have to really think about, do I need to some fucking make a comment about some chick's ass in calculus? Like, maybe not. So I appreciate that. Yeah, we'll wrap this shit up then. Yeah, we've been going for an hour and a half already. So yeah, everybody listening, go in the description. Please go follow Halsey. Please go follow his podcast, his Twitter, and Donnie will continue to be a man in the shadows with no footprint. And I mean, I don't know if he exists. You know, the 2D face mapping thing. Maybe Donnie's not real, but you know that's cool too. If Donnie's an AI bot, then we'll take it. So, um, yeah, gentlemen, thank you both for your time.
Next time.
Thank you
Yep,
very
we'll
much, my
wrap this
friend.
shit
Thank
up,
you very
guys.
much, Donny.
Yep, thank you
Thanks,
for
Halsey.
watching, everybody. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Three quick organizations that I try to help through the podcast. I don't take any money from, and I wouldn't if they offered. First and foremost is ARC, the Association for the Recovery of Children. That's led by Basil Baz. It's been around since 1993. They physically liberate sex trafficked children. They get about 10 to 12 kids a year. I've got a fundraiser thrown for them before. You can go to the link in the description. You can donate, I think, as little as $1. It's tax deductible. They are truly doing the Lord's work. This isn't an awareness campaign. This isn't wristbands. They physically go in, kick down doors, and liberate children who are raped daily. They're doing the Lord's work. If you can go help them, you can go give $1. You can also take their training programs and do your best to help spot human trafficking in the world around you. It really is, if there's anything that this podcast accomplishes on this earth, I think it should be to help them. The second group is Invest, like a vest, a bulletproof vest, led by Mike Letts. 25% of police precincts in the United States cannot afford to give their, and this is true, cannot afford to give their officers cars, weapons, nor vests. They cannot do that. And you can donate as little as $1. They have donated over, I believe, 70,000 bulletproof vests in 30 years. Actually, Invest and ARC were both founded in 1983. Fun fact. And Invest is also doing something that is dovetailing actually with ARC. I put them in touch, BAR, Broken Arrow Ranch, which is to make sure that the kids who are rescued don't fall right back into the traffic system. So ARC, you can go in there and you can help them, and Invest, you can also go in there and help them. And lastly is the Church of the Barbarian Spirit. That's my buddy Clay Martin, Special Forces. It is a group to where Special Forces veterans are helping other Special Forces veterans in unconventional ways, be it fasting, be it psychedelics, be it just face-to-face talking, to reduce suicide rates. And as you guys know, suicide is very near and dear to me. So those are three groups that I really think are actively trying to make the world a better place instead of just talking about it. If you guys could just go check them out, go share their links, go do whatever you can. If you can donate, go donate. If not, that's cool too. But, you know, long after I'm dead, and long after you guys are gone, I want the lasting impact of this podcast to be something that's genuinely helped the world. So if you guys can go check those out, that would be insanely appreciated. Thank you so much. Hey guys, a huge sponsor of the show is Heaven's Harvest Prepper Food. Clayton lives down in Georgia. He's been on the show before. It's actually nearby where I went to college. They are a huge sponsor of the show. They give me some money every month, even when I don't sell enough to warrant that paycheck. Meaning that the show is not free. It's just that it's free for you. If you guys need prepper food, or if you're just interested in supporting the show, I'd please ask you to go to the link in the description. Go to Heaven's Harvest Prepper Food, promo code TPC for 10% off. 72 servings per pail, 25-year shelf life. These things are, they double as dumbbells. Pasta Primavera, cheesy potato soup, mac and cheese, loaded baked potato casserole, chili mac, cheddar broccoli soup, cheesy lasagna, teriyaki rice. You can get banana chips. There's also raspberries, strawberries, and apples. There's a bunch of freeze-dried fruit, or you can even get seeds to plant your own garden. It's not a bad thing to have. It's like gold or ammunition. It's a good thing to have. It's a bad thing if you have to use it, but it's good. It's good to have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. So that's what I'd say. And if you just want to support the show, please go to the link in the description. Please go support them because they support me. Thank you so much, guys.